play the music, brethren. Everybody sing this song now. But I met that we're a peaceful people, struggling, we struggle. I mean, I look for trouble, just ask around. But when outside places, from foreign places, talk about taking over, being backing down. So we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one for us, not a blade of grass. And we love the open country of the roof and and the Essequibo, the time of night. We may criticize it. This is our home, we love it, and we mean to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not no one to sake, not one rice grain, not one for us, not a blade of grass, not one golden apple, not one jam moon, not a drop of water from the Pomeroon, not one breadfruit, not one white tea, not one guinea, not one lime tree, not a one sapodilla, not one Carolina, not one sugar cane, or a dry of lime, not one sherriga, not one cracate, not one guinea, not one blue sake, not one rice grain. That is really all you ask. Not a blade of grass.
At one point of Guyana's western border with Venezuela, the Renamo River flows into the Cuyuni River, and there is an island at this junction called Ankoko Island of about 2 to 3 square miles. According to the map in existence since 1904, the border runs roughly through the center of Ankoko Island from north to south, so that the western part of the island is Venezuelan and the eastern Guyanese. For some time, in fact during last month, a number of Venezuelans were crossing onto the Guyanese side and have since then been carrying out certain works on our territory. The report of this came to the notice of the government a few days ago only, and an inspection party consisting of senior officials and 2 senior police officers visited the island the day before yesterday, Wednesday the 12th of October. This party verified and confirmed the earlier report received through unofficial channels. In the opinion of the government, this intrusion by Venezuelans constitutes a breach of the Geneva Agreement entered into between the governments of the United Kingdom and Venezuela on the 17th of February 1966, to which agreement the government of Guyana is now a party. And today, I have sent a cable to Dr. Iribarren Borges, the Foreign Minister of Venezuela, strongly protesting the intrusion of Venezuelan personnel onto Guyanese territory and asking that immediate steps be taken by the government of Venezuela to ensure the immediate withdrawal of all such personnel. I have this morning informed the leader of the opposition of the situation and held discussions with him. Meanwhile, I await a reply from the Venezuelan government. I consider it my duty to inform the nation of this latest development and to assure you that every step is being taken to retain our territorial sovereignty by peaceful means. Your government proposes to abide by the terms of the Geneva Agreement and is hopeful that the government of Venezuela will do likewise. You are asked to remain calm and to await further information. Long live Guyana.
Struggling, we struggle. I mean, I look for trouble. Just ask around. But when outside places, from foreign places, talk about taking over, being backing down. So we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one for us, not a blade of grass. I will love the open country of the roof and honey and the Essequibo, the time of night. We may criticize it. This is our home, we love it, and we mean to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not no one to sake, not one rice bread, not one for us, not a blade of grass, not one golden apple, not one jamun, not a drop of water from the Pomeroon. People, let's get together. Stop all this fussing and fighting. Let's love one another. You gotta help your mother, help your father, help your brothers, help your sisters, help your neighbors and your friends. We are one people, one nation, one destiny. Everybody, y'all. One people, one nation, one destiny. Yeah, yeah. We were separated. Now we are free. That's the way it should be.
Hi, I'm Femi OK, and you're in the stream. Today, an oil discovery just off the coast of Guyana has reignited a territory dispute with Venezuela. What's happening in the Essequibo region? The territory dispute between Guyana and Venezuela, well, that goes back more than 100 years. Guyana is just towards the east of Venezuela. And sitting here, it used to be a Dutch colony, then it was a British colony. It's the only English-speaking country in the whole of South America. Next door, we have Venezuela, a former Spanish colony. So along here is the Essequibo region, and this line border here was decided back in 1899 by International Tribunal. And it was decided that all of this area here belonged to Guyana. Let's fast forward until a few months ago when ExxonMobil discovered oil just off the coast of Guyana. That was when President Maduro of Venezuela, well, he said it is time to take back our land. So this area here, the Essequibo region, going back to Venezuela, which left just one third of Guyana left for Guyana. Online, there was support for President Maduro's suggestion, and it was here. Let's take back our country, our homeland. And then on the ground, protest in Guyana saying, hands off our oil. We're going to be joined by the Foreign Minister of Guyana in this conversation. And he says, no part of Guyana is going anywhere. That's the conversation. That's the backstory. Let's see what Malika Blau, our digital producer, has on her laptop.
Thanks, Femi. Well, most people are talking about the timing behind this renewed territorial dispute. And I say quote unquote dispute because not everyone believes it is one. So that's the question that we're asking our community, what they think is behind this renewed push. We want you to answer that question. And you can do that by tweeting us with hashtag AJStream.
My name is Mauricio Salvadesi. I am a Brazilian blogger and I am on the stream.
Now, to help us break down this territory dispute, we have in Georgetown, Minister of Foreign Affairs in the Republic of Guyana, Carl Greenridge. From Caracas, the former Venezuelan ambassador to Guyana, Sadio Garavini. Also in Georgetown, Mark Anthony Benshop, he's a Guyanese activist. And Jesus Silva is a professor of international politics at the University of Central Venezuela. So gentlemen, welcome, good to have you here. So Mark, if I asked you to draw a map of Guyana, what would it look like?
It will look like the original map that we have that includes all of Guyana, 83,000 square miles, nothing belonging to any other country. And so that is going to be the map that I'm accustomed to. I've known this map since I was a little boy, and that is going to be the map all through eternity. None of Guyana is going anywhere.
Jesus, what would your map look like?
Well, I think that the map is according to the Venezuelan claim that this zone that we are asking for to be given back to our country must be given back to our country. And we're going to work on that solution within the framework of international law, as the government of Venezuela is doing right now. So we want no conflict, we want no confrontation, we want a peaceful solution and a legal solution with the aid of the international community.
Interesting. So, Sadio, back in the 1980s, you were the ambassador to Guyana, Venezuela's ambassador to Guyana. What do you make of the relationship between the two countries right now?
Well, the relation with the two countries, we are condemned in a certain sense, in the good sense of being neighbors for the eternity. So we have to find a way, the best way to solve our problems amicably. And the Geneva Agreement in 1966, which is the framework, the only juridical framework that we have to solve the conversation, the controversy, is says exactly what we have to do about it, and that we have to follow the lines of the Geneva Agreement.
So let me just make sure that I understand this, and also for the benefit of our international community, Sadia. So that Geneva Agreement was, the idea was that Venezuela was not happy with what was decided back in 1899. They wanted to go back to arbitration, and they wanted to go back with the UN. And the UN says, well, both you parties, Venezuela, Caracas, and also Guyana, you have to get together and talk about it. And that conversation, that didn't really happen, did it, Sadio?
No, there was a lot of discussion. The problem, there are two interpretations of the Geneva Agreement.
Right.
And I would say, I think that is the most important thing that we have to talk about, maybe, because the Geneva Agreement expressly disposed in its preamble that the matter must be resolved in a manner acceptable to both parties.
Right, Sadia, I'm going to ask you just to give a pause for a moment, because a lot of us are learning about this as we go along. So I don't want to dig deep into the Geneva Agreement. I don't want to make it a nice broad conversation so all of our online community can join in as well. Malika, where do you want to take us?
I want to take us actually back in history just a little bit, but very interestingly.
Yeah.
This is Juan, who's tweeting us about his memories. He said, I remember this topic being a question in elementary school back in Venezuela. And he goes on to say, given the maps were drawn, it was always brushed off as, quote unquote, too complicated, or it's basically not ours anymore. And he goes on one more time to say, however, I have those memories of going to school back home. It was almost an accepted fact that Guyana was not part of Venezuela. So that's a little bit back in history. Minister, I want to go to you now for fast forwarding us a little bit. Are tensions on the ground, what are they like? Are there tensions between the two countries right now?
Well, Monica, there are, of course, tensions arising from statements being made by Venezuelan groups, by the Venezuelan president, by the Venezuelan minister. As regards the issue over which there is a controversy, let me just make a couple of points clear to you. That Savio is right when he speaks about the significance of the Geneva Agreement, which was signed in 1966. But the Geneva Agreement at no point addresses the changing of the borders between the two countries. The border was freely negotiated in 1899. It was subsequently delineated and marked.
So, Minister, what we're interested in as an international community, because remember, this is an international story as well as a domestic one for you, is what is the relationship like right now, regardless of the Geneva Agreement, right now, with your next door neighbor? What is that like?
I've just explained that relationship. Yeah. There's a relationship of tension right now, arising from various statements being made about, obviously, if you wake up a morning and you find that either your house is being claimed or your neighbor is claiming that the land that you have known, where you have never seen any Venezuelans living, is suddenly to be the property of Venezuela, then obviously there will be tensions between the two countries. There are outside the border issues. There are normally no great tensions of significance. The tensions that...
See, Mark, that seems a lot more than tension. The idea that you could wake up and your house doesn't belong to you, is that a little extreme, or is that really happening?
Well, you have a situation in which on May the 26th, Guyana's Independence Day, the Venezuelan president issued a proclamation laying claim to all of Guyana's exclusive economic zone. But that is really the end of the latest saga in a longer story in which in 1966, immediately prior to Guyana's independence, the government of Venezuela at the time, in our view, seeking to prevent Guyana's independence, was demanding that an international treaty which established the borders be revisited.
All right, Minister, let me play a little bit of your president. This is President David Granger. Yeah, go ahead, Jesus. I want to bring us up to date because there are certain dates here for us as an international community. We're really concerned about what's going to happen next, not what happened before. But go ahead.
The point is that, unfortunately, the Guyanese minister is forgetting a big part of the story. There is a statement by the Guyanese president saying that Venezuela is somehow a monkey on his back.
See, Jesus, you must have read my mind. Jesus, hold tight for a moment. Hold tight for a moment. You must have read my mind because I was about to play that when you said, can I say something? So let me actually play that. This is July of this year. This is the president of Guyana, and he was talking about the pressure that he's feeling from Venezuela, and he was speaking at CARICOM, the Caribbean Community meeting. Have a listen to this.
Guyana, even as it approaches the 50th anniversary of its independence next year, hand in hand with its sister Barbados, is still carrying a monkey on its back. That monkey is the unbearable burden of an oppressive and obnoxious claim on our land and sea space. CARICOM has been a source of solace and steadfast support for Guyana's territorial integrity and sovereignty over the years. We never needed that support more than now.
All right, so that's what Jesus was summarizing, and I think you should really have heard that sort of word by word as you did here. Right. Malika, where do you want to take us?
Well, you heard what he had to say. This is what the citizens have to say. This is Derwayne, who tweeted to the stream. I am from Guyana, and first let me say there is no dispute. It is a claim or a controversy, but the issue was settled decades ago. So that's one point of view, but I want to give you the sense of how people are talking about this in Venezuela. So the stream rounded up a bunch of hashtags that people are using to discuss this. Here you have some of the top ones, and these all have tens of thousands of mentions in just the past 30 days. This last one is the one, though, that I want you to look at. The claim for Essequibo is just. And that is what people are saying. This is the one they're using the most. So, Sadio, you see this conversation happening. Has this united Venezuelans who might have been previously not united?
No, we are united in the claim, but I would say, and I insist, that the solution is through the Geneva Agreement, and where it says that we have to look for a practical solution to the matter. And that is precisely the problem. It is the validity or invalidity of the award of 1899. That is what the Guyanese government says. It is about the Geneva Agreement. It's precisely, instead they should, the Guyanese government should say what it means.
All right, so Sadio, how would you propose, Sadio?
Practical solution.
How would you propose?
The importance in the word practical solution.
All right, so let me show you.
That means it's a negotiated solution.
All right, so Sadio, let me show you something. This is, I don't really need to show you, I'm going to show our international community this. This is President Maduro's plan for how to go forward with this controversy, territorial dispute, however you want to describe it. Have a look at what he spoke about back in May. So there was going to be a maritime defense zone. There was going to be an Essequibo rescue office. There were going to be a further 200,000 Venezuelan ID cards issued to Guyanese people, and also asked for some UN assistance. And that is really what you were talking about here in terms of arbitration. Mark, is any of that appealing to you as somebody from Guyana?
Well, I think it's what Maduro is saying. It's not appealing to most Guyanese, and I think the time has come that we resolve this matter peacefully, or one way or the other. Guyana belongs to us, and we all know this. I think the Venezuelans know that. The former ambassador knows it. Professor knows that. I think they're just dilly-dallying on the issue. President Maduro is basically the massive economical problems they have in Venezuela currently, food shortages throughout the country. He has an election coming up in December, and this is just basically to prop him up so that he can win the elections. You know, my desire is that Maduro is voted out of office and we have a much more sane president that can resolve this matter and allow Guyana to breathe again.
Well, Femi, you mentioned as part of the decree, one of the things that President Maduro mentioned was the ID cards, and that's what people are picking up on. This is a tweet. Kwesi writes on Twitter, just what I always wanted, Venezuelan citizenship. I'm going to guess he's doing that tongue-in-cheek. But I want you all to hear this video comment. Jesus, I'll direct it to you. And she picks up on that same idea. This is Irene.
If we look at the historical documentation, it would be very difficult to prove that this territory still belongs to Venezuela. But obviously, because there's this new discovery, all of a sudden, the whole government is focused on this particular area. What I find most curious, however, is that Venezuela is actually considering giving Venezuelan IDs to over 200,000 people living in this territory. And then we'll see what happens then.
So, Jesus, she mentioned the IDs. Practically, how would this work? And what language would people in the region need to speak? Because presumably they don't speak Spanish right now.
The possibility of granting ID cards to Guyanese citizens is an evidence that the Venezuelan government does not want a military conflict against Guyana, that the Venezuelan government is willing to solve this issue within the framework of international law. But I will not allow, as a lawyer, the people to be misled. The problem is that the current government in Guyana has a political position, a rightist position, an anti-communist position, as we have just heard from the professor from Guyana, that he wants Maduro to be voted out of his country. We have no desire to interfere in political affairs of Guyana, but our friends from Guyana, or at least these partakers, these members of the program today, the show, are somehow expressing and letting all out, you know, the opinions against our government.
Jesus,
the point is that they are boosting the conflict and they want to ExxonMobil, you know, to intervene in the conflict. Also, the British government to intervene in the conflict, and also the U.S. government to intervene in the conflict. It seems that in the dreams of the Guyanese president, there is an intention to create a military confrontation, which is very irresponsible and very dangerous from this man that he says he's representing the interests of the Guyanese people very responsibly. He is not being a responsible leader when he wants to create a conflict with Venezuela just as a part of a political agenda.
Jesus, just take a pause. Go ahead, Mark.
I can say that it's quite the opposite, because President Maduro has been displaying quite the very thing that he's accusing our government of doing. President Granger has said that he wants this matter to be resolved peacefully, diplomatically, and let's all move on. It is President Maduro who has said then that the president of Guyana is not in control, he's not this. I mean, he's the one who has been interfering in our domestic political
supplying oil every day.
The other stuff, we are supplying rice.
Because Venezuela is giving oil to your country. You should be grateful for that.
And
but instead, you're attacking my country, and you somehow want to create this conflict that never existed before, when leftist governments
just give a moment so you can actually have a little bit of a back and forth. Hold tight for a moment. Yes, Mark, go ahead.
We are neighbors. We should live as neighbors too, peacefully. We supply tons upon tons of rice to you guys. Think about what if we don't give Venezuela rice? What is going to happen to you guys, Professor? Think about if you have a sane president who understands diplomacy and can have this matter resolved, and all of us can breathe again. Think of what the possibility exists if you have a government that focuses on the people of Venezuela and that can avoid the millions of people living in starvation right now in Venezuela. Unemployment on the rise. Come on. Let
All
us
right, so
talk about
gentlemen, Mark and Jesus, we actually have two diplomats in this conversation. So let's go to our two diplomats here and just see where they want to take us. Minister, you hear the back and forth. I imagine that is pretty representative of what's happening on the ground for Venezuela, what's happening on the ground for Guyana. But you're a foreign minister. How do you see this situation resolving itself? Will it?
Femi, first of all, let me say to you that the comments made by former ambassador as regards the Geneva Agreement are quite correct. I agree with him on practically everything he said.
Apart from what?
Not apart from anything. I'm saying I agree with what the ambassador said so far as regards the facts, namely that an agreement was signed in 1899. Venezuela is a party to that, and that in 1966 we agreed.
So, Minister, I want to go forward. We don't have so much time. We've covered that ground already. How do you see the way forward? Because we have a time crunch, Minister. So take us forward. Because I don't want to keep repeating those two dates. I want to go forward. How do we get out of this situation? How do you get out of this situation?
May I explain to you?
Please do.
I'm trying to explain to you that the significance, the solution to the problem, the solution to the issue or to the controversy, as the ambassador indicated, has to be around the 1966 agreement, because the agreement is the thing that says to these two parties, there is a controversy over the arbitration award, the arbitral award, whether it is actually null and void.
So, Minister, let me ask you this briefly, because I only have a little bit of time here, and I know this is a much longer debate, so I apologize for pushing you a little bit. So here's the thing. So this is a framework that they set up for the UN for arbitration. Is Guyana ready to come?
Arbitration for a number of, it offers a number of options.
Is Guyana ready to come to the table to talk about that? Are you ready to negotiate anything?
I'm trying to explain something to you.
I only have a set amount of time, Mr. Minister, so please help us out with the time. I have to push you, and I'm going to go to the community next. So is Guyana ready to have that conversation?
Well, a conversation has always been going on. Guyana has always been a party to the conversations associated with the Geneva Agreement. If I don't explain what the ambassador had highlighted and which the two of us agree on, then an answer, that the type of answer you're seeking is not going to help you. So I will leave it there.
All right, I understand, and I apologize for the shortness of this conversation. Let me go to Malika. Malika.
Well, this is another perspective from Guyana. This is actually a former ambassador to Venezuela from Guyana. This is Odin Ishmael. Sadio, I'll direct this to you. He says Venezuela has not attempted to prove its case before an international court. Guyana suggested the issue should be presented to the International Court of Justice, but he says Venezuela refuses. Sadio?
Yes, because, I mean, there are many, in the Geneva Agreement, there are different means to solve the problem. And our position is that the Geneva Agreement, the objective of the Geneva Agreement is not the validity or invalidity of the 1819 award, because if Guyana wanted to go to the International Court of Justice for the validity or invalidity of the 1899 award, they should have not signed the Geneva Agreement in 1966. They only had to ask to go to the International Court of Justice.
What do you think might happen? This was still a conversation. This was still a controversy when you were ambassador to Guyana for Venezuela. This was back in the 1980s. What do you think might happen now?
What will happen now?
Yeah.
Well, as the minister said, it's a complicated affair to say in a few minutes. But I will say, if there is no agreement between the two parties, they have to refer the case to the Secretary General of the United Nations, who has to decide which mean of a peaceful solution of controversy has to be used inside the Geneva Agreement. Those means of solution, of peaceful solution, are in the Article 33 of the Charter of the United Nations. So if there is no agreement between the two parties, they have to refer to the Secretary General of the United Nations.
Mark?
We want a peaceful agreement, a conclusion of this matter. I don't think Venezuela president wants that. They've been talking about war. There have been incursion of our borders where Venezuelan soldiers are just hopping over our borders and thinking that Guyana is just a small country in terms of population and they could ride all over us. It is not going to happen. I am hoping that our government will take a stronger measure against Venezuela and let this matter be resolved. We have the international community on our side. We have CARICOM on our side. Everyone is on our side. The law is on our side. One thing quickly that I'm totally against, and I feel as an activist that it's a disrespect of our people and our sovereignty for the president of Venezuela or the government of Venezuela to say that they're going to issue ID cards to our nationals in Essequibo. That is a treasonous act. And if I have my way, I will charge the president of Venezuela with treason.
All right. So Jesus is shaking his head. Do you want to know what's behind that shake of his head? Of course you do. The only place to find that out Jesus will be telling us that in our post show. Jesus, hold tight for a moment. We're at the end of the show. I don't want to crash you into the news. Stream.aljazeera.com. We're taking Jesus, Mark, Sadio, and also the Minister for Foreign Affairs for Guyana, all coming to our post show at stream.aljazeera.com. Thank you so much to the guests. On the next AJ Stream, well, US President Barack Obama described his country's criminal justice system as broken, and he's on a mission to fix it. So what will it take?
We're a peaceful people, struggling, we struggle. I mean, I look for trouble, just ask around. But when outside faces, from foreign places, talk about taking over, being backing down. So we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one for us, not a blade of grass. I will love the open country of the roof and and the Essequibo, daytime or night. Don't be criticizing. This is the home we love it, and we mean to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not no one to sake, not one rice bread, not one for us, not a blade of grass, not one golden apple, not one jamun, not a drop of water from the farmer road, not one breadfruit, not one white tea, not one guinea, not one lime tree, not a one sapodilla, not one Caroline, not one sugar cane, or a dry of lime, not one sherriga, not one cracate, not one guinea, not one blue sake, not one rice bread. Venezuela, all yours. Not a blade of grass.
At one point of Guyana's western border with Venezuela, the Renamo River flows into the Cuyuni River, and there is an island at this junction called Ankoko Island of about 2 to 3 square miles. According to the map in existence since 1904, the border runs roughly through the center of Ankoko Island from north to south, so that the western part of the island is Venezuelan and the eastern Guyanese. For some time, in fact during last month, a number of Venezuelans were crossing onto the Guyanese side and have since then been carrying out certain works on our territory. The report of this came to the notice of the government a few days ago only, and an inspection party consisting of senior officials and 2 senior police officers visited the island the day before yesterday, Wednesday the 12th of October. This party verified and confirmed the earlier report received through unofficial channels. In the opinion of the government, this intrusion by Venezuelans constitutes a breach of the Geneva Agreement entered into between the governments of the United Kingdom and Venezuela on the 17th of February 1966, to which agreement the government of Guyana is now a party. And today, I have sent a cable to Dr. Iribarren Borges, the Foreign Minister of Venezuela, strongly protesting the intrusion of Venezuelan personnel onto Guyanese territory and asking that immediate steps be taken by the government of Venezuela to ensure the immediate withdrawal of all such personnel. I have this morning informed the leader of the opposition of the situation and held discussions with him. Meanwhile, I await a reply from the Venezuelan government. I consider it my duty to inform the nation of this latest development and to assure you that every step is being taken to retain our territorial sovereignty by peaceful means. Your government proposes to abide by the terms of the Geneva Agreement and is hopeful that the government of Venezuela will do likewise. You're asked to remain calm and to await further information. Long live Guyana.
Just ask around, but when outside places, from foreign places, talk about taking over, being backing down. So we ain't giving up no more. We ain't ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one chorus, not a blade of grass. I will love the open country of the roof and and the Essequibo, the time of night. No, we criticize it. This is the home we love it, and we mean to keep it. We have that right. So we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river. That belongs to we. Not no one to sake, not one rice bread, not one chorus, not a blade of grass, not one golden apple, not one jamun, not a drop of water from the Pomeroon, not one breadfruit, not one white tea, not one guinea, not one lime tree, not a one sapodilla, not one Caroline, not one sugar cane, or a dry of lime, not one sherriga, not one cracate, not one guinea, not one blue sake, not one rice bread. Venezuela, all yours, not a blade of grass.